Hello, good evening. Kayo lang? Apat?
Good evening po, sir.
Saan yung iba? Okay, let's start. So habol na lang yung iba. Our Zoom meeting is only 40 minutes. But anyway, recorded naman ito. So i-upload ko ito sa YouTube and bibigyan ko kayo ng link ng video. Okay, so first and foremost, good evening sa inyo. Hoping mabuti kayo. And then make sure class na enroll kayo sa subject na ito kasi may mga iba na second courser is baka na-take up nyo na ito doon sa first course nyo. So pwede nyo itong apply as a credit. Ipa-credit nyo doon sa school. And then next thing is baka may mga classmate pa kayo na bagong enrolled, so kindly add them sa group chat. Okay, so this will be our subject, income taxation. So, but before that, so I will introduce myself. I am Franklin Lopez, certified public accountant and a managing owner of Lopez Accounting and Auditing Services. And then next class will be sa ating grading system. So since you are ABS-BA, so alam niyo naman siguro yung grading system natin, no? So first is, but for me, hindi ako stricto dun sa mga attendance. So, but be sure that every time present kayo during quiz and at the same time you take your exam on time. Okay, so let's start your let's start the discussion. Actually, late na tayo ng isang araw. So for us to finish the course, dapat medyo bilisan natin. And if you have the question, so kindly raise question during the discussion. And next thing class is, since this is just only 40 minutes, since kapag mapuputol na mamaya, so let's continue the discussion on next meeting that will be on Friday. Okay? Okay, kompleto na tayo. 14 na kayo. So, if you have a faster connection, so kindly open your camera. Okay, di ba may mga copy na kayo nung discussion? So, nilagay ko doon sa may LMS. So, you can download it anytime. So, our first topic will be the general principles of taxation. So, nandoon yun lahat. So, summarize na yun. So, but if you have the book, book of Rojas and Valencia. So, kung may libro kayo, di mas mabuti. But sa mga walang libro, so you can have it download sa LMS. And then next thing class is, lahat ba kayo dito is a working student, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes po.
Sir.
Okay. And then, hoping na medyo sana makatch up yung topic kasi may trabaho na kayo. Then, so siguro yung iba sa inyo is a bookkeeper din. So, bookkeeper siguro yung iba sa inyo o di kaya dun sa office yung sa work nyo is may background na kayo about taxation. Okay, so let's start. So, first and foremost, why do we need to pay tax? So, syempre, the best reason is para suportahan yung mga projects ng government. So, that is the to have the revenue. para may revenue ang government natin. At the same time, pwede siyang pantustos dun sa mga expenses. But the definition by book of taxation is, unang-una doon is the power to enforce contribution, is the process or means by which the sovereign, through its lawmaking body, raise income to defray the necessary expenses. So, ibig sabihin, we need to pay tax for us para magkaroon ng income ang government. So, pwedeng pansuporta doon sa expenses ng government. Okay, next. Inherent power of the state. So, inherent power. When you say inherent power, so from the time na meron ng government or there are small community, meron ng police power, eminent domain, and taxation power. So what is police power? Police power is the power to protect citizen and provide for safety and welfare of society. So ibig sabihin, seguridad ng isang community or ng isang bansa. So that is the one inherent power of the state. So inherent power class, ibig sabihin, either small community or large country, nandyan na yan, police power, security. Next, eminent domain. What is eminent domain? The power to take private property with just compensation for public use. So eminent domain naman is, it is the power of the government to take a private property which is to be used by the public. So let's say for example, kapag yung bahay mo matatamaan ng road widening, so wala kang magagawa. So dapat yan is find a location which is pero take note class, sa eminent domain kasi babayaran ka ng gobyerno. Babayaran yan ng gobyerno kapag kinuha yung property mo. Halimbawa, may lupa ka, gagamitin ngayon ng gobyerno for gagawa sila ng train station, and then yung lupa mo ay sakop nung pagpapatay ng train station. So iti-take yan ng government pero babayaran ka. So that is power of the state, power of the state. And then third is taxation power, the power to enforce contribution to support the government and inherent powers of the and other inherent power of the state. Take note class, the police power and eminent domain is hindi sila pwedeng maningil ng pera. Only the taxation power. So, tanungin, sir, bakit yung mga police naniningil ng police clearance, bayad ng police clearance? It's just only for a regulation. Naintindihan? It's just only payment for the regulation. But the bread and butter of the government is the taxation power. Naintindihan? That is the main or the lifeblood of the government. That is the tax. Next, nature of taxation. So the nature of taxation, that is, una, taxation is an inherent power of the sovereignty. Number two, essentially a legislative function. Take note class, ang gumagawa ng batas or ng tax laws natin is only the legislative body. Diba? Sa government natin, three bodies of the government. Una, executive. Next, the legislative. And third, the judiciary. So, ang gumagawa ng tax laws natin is the legislative. So, ang nag-i-enforce ng law is the executive. And then, ang nag-i-interpret ng law is the judiciary. So, taxation power is a legislative function. 3, for public purposes. Take note, taxation or the money which came from the tax is only for public purposes. Number 4, it is territorial in operation. Take note class, lahat ng income derived from the Philippines is just only taxable here in the Philippines. Naintindihan? So, hindi mo naman po pwedeng i-tax yung income na derived from the other country, except kung you are a resident citizen. Ibig sabihin, kapag taga dito ka sa Pilipinas, dito ka nanirahan, and then meron kang income na derived from the USA, so yung income mo sa USA is taxable here in the Philippines. Next, tax exemption of the government. Siyempre naman, the government are exempt from paying taxes, but not the employees class. Halimbawa, government employee ka. So you are also you are also obliged to pay tax. Kasi nga nagkaroon ka ng income. So ang sinasabi dito sa number 6, tax exemption of the government, halimbawa, si PRC, Professional Regulations Commission, lahat ng nakokolekt ng pera, so that is a revenue. But those revenue is exempt from the tax. Number 6, the strongest among the inherent powers of the government. Take note, class. Taxation power is the most strongest inherent power. Why? Kasi nga, kapag walang tax, so paano mabubuhay ang government? 7, subject to constitutional limitations. Ibig sabihin, ang taxes class is hindi naman, kapag sinabi mong taxes, hindi naman lahat dapat mong i-tax. Why? Siyempre, may mga limitations din. Halimbawa, income mo, 250,000 within a year. So, hindi ka naman pwedeng singilin pa ng tax. Why? It's because 250,000 is just only for livelihood. Ang sobra na sa 250,000, ibig sabihin, that will not hindi na yan for livelihood. Ibig sabihin, meron ka ng excess over the 250,000. Naintindihan nyo? Kasi nga, halimbawa, ikaw, nag-income ka ng 250,000 within a year, magkano lang yun sa isang buwan? Naintindihan? So, although nagka-income ka, syempre, hindi ka din pwedeng singilin ng tax because merong exemptions. Number 3, next, due process of law. Syempre, hindi ka naman basta-basta sisingilin ng tax. May process, merong due process of law. Equal protection of law. So, equal protection of law. So, ang sabi ng batas, pinoprotektahan din ng batas yung mga pinapatawan ng tax. Rule of uniformity and equity. Ang ibig sabihin ng rule of uniformity and equity class is, halimbawa, ang income mo within a year is 500,000. Halimbawa, sabihin natin, ang binayaran mong tax is 5,000. Eh, how about yung ibang tao nagkaroon ng income ng 1 million? Hindi man pwedeng 5,000 din yung babayaran niya. So, ang babayaran mong tax is nakadepende doon sa income na na-derive mo. Naintindihan? Halimbawa, si A, income niya is 500,000. Si B, income niya is 1 million. So, hindi sila po pwedeng magkapareho ng babayaran tax kasi nga si B, mas mataas yung kanyang income. Naintindihan? So, that is, tax is based on equity. Next, non-impairment of contracts. Next, President power to veto separate items in the revenue or tariff bill. So, halimbawa, si legislative function or si legislation ang gumagawa ng batas. Pero syempre, before yan magiging batas, kailangan pa ng approval ng presidente. So, halimbawa, sabi ng president, itong batas na ito, hindi ito po pwede. So, lalong magpapahirap ito sa tao. So, the president has the power to veto. Ibig sabihin, ng power to veto, pwede niyang ibaliwala yung batas na iniain. Next, exemption from property taxation of religious, charitable, or educational entities, non-profit cemeteries, churches, and others. So, ito class, yung mga religious, limbawa, simbahan, yung mga charities, yung mga non-profit educational institution, or yung mga eskwelahan which is a foundation, or di kaya yung non-profit cementerio, which is for public, or churches and others, which is not for profit, or those companies which is not non-for-profit, they are exempt from paying taxes. But take note, class, for them to be able to exempt from paying taxes, dapat mag-seek pa sila ng certificate of exemption. Halimbawa, kagaya ng public cemetery. Although public cemetery is not for profit, kailangan muna nilang mag-seek ng certificate of exemption. O di kaya kagaya ng mga cooperatives. Although cooperative is for, 'di ba, nagkakaroon sila ng income. So a cooperative, before he will be able to exempt from paying taxes, kailangan muna siyang mag-seek ng certificate of exemption from the BIR. Next is, no public money shall be appropriated for religious purposes. Take note, class. Ang pera ng gobyerno or ang pera ng public, hindi pwedeng gamitin for religious purposes. Majority of all the members of the Congress required in granting tax exemption. O diba? Kapag congressman ka, so you are tax exempt. So dapat ito yung baguhin ng Congress. Dapat if you are a congressman, subject ka pa rin sa tax. But anyway, so wala tayong magagawa, sila yung gumagawa ng batas. Next, the Congress may not deprive the Supreme Court of its jurisdiction in all cases involving the legality of any tax, imposed or assessment or toll or any penalty imposed in relation to tax. Ibig sabihin daw, class, di ba si legislative or si Congress ang gumawa ng batas? Ngayon, kapag sinabi ng Supreme Court na, ito, hindi ito makatarungan ng batas, dapat tanggalin. So, ibig sabihin, walang magagawa doon si Congress. Dapat tanggalin talaga yung batas or i-amend or dapat i-repeal yung batas. Next is, no imprisonment for non-payment of poll tax. Ano yung poll tax? Anyone? Ano ba ang poll tax? Kapag hindi ka daw nagbayad ng poll tax, hindi ka pwedeng makulong. Anyone? Wala? What is poll tax? Poll tax is sidula. So yung poll tax is a sidula or yung community tax certificate. So kapag hindi ka daw nagbayad ng sidula, so hindi ka pwedeng ikulong. So yan yung sabi ng tax. Non-imprisonment for non-payment of poll tax. Next, tax correction shall be treated as a general funds of the government. Next, what are the purpose of taxation? Siyempre, unang-una dyan, for revenue purposes, to raise funds. Next, regulatory or sumptuary purposes. Unang-una, to regulate inflation. Next, achieve economic and social stability. Serve as a key instrument for social control. Unang-una, class, bakit daw nagre-regulate ng inflation ang taxes? So, explain ko sa inyo why. Let's say, for example, ang inflation mataas. Halimbawa, sabihin natin, kapag ang inflation mataas, mataas din ang presyo ng bilihin, right? Halimbawa, yung 1,000 pesos mo. So, kalahating sako ng bigas lang. Dati, isang sako na yan, right? It's because of the inflation. So, ngayon, anong gagawin ng gobyerno para yung inflation bababa? Kasi nga, dapat yung price is dapat mababa or stable lang, hindi masyadong mataas. Naintindihan? So, ang gagawin niya ng gobyerno, pababain mo ang tax rates. Why? Kapag bababa ang tax rates, ibig sabihin, kokonti yung babayaran tax ng tao. Mababa yung babayaran niyang tax. Ibig sabihin ngayon, ang magiging net pay ng tao, tataas. Naintindihan? Halimbawa, may sweldo ka, 20,000. O di ka sabihin natin, 30,000. sa 30,000 ang binabayaran mo tax is sabihin natin 1,500. Ngayon, kapag mataas yung presyo or mataas yung inflation, pababain mo yung tax rate. Naintindihan? So, sa sweldo mo na 30,000 from 1,500 na binabayaran mong tax, magiging sabihin natin 500 na lang. So, yung magiging net pay mo is magiging 29,500 na, right? From 28,500. Nasundan nyo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, kapag mataas yung sweldo or mataas yung net take home pay ng isang tao, ibig sabihin, tataas yung purchasing power niya. Marami siyang mabibili. Naintindihan nyo? So, ibig sabihin, kapag ang isang tao maraming mabibili, so, mareregulate mo na ngayon yung inflation. Why? Kasi nga, kapag mataas yung inflation kasi, yung tao maghihirap ang tao. Kasi nga, konti na lang yung nabibili nila sa kanilang pera. So, that is how to regulate inflation by way of taxes. Kung mapapansin nyo, di ba dati, may sweldo ka na 10,000, taxable ka na. Ngayon, ginawa 250,000 a year. Naintindihan? Para yung tao, tumaas yung net take home pay niya, marami siyang mabibili. Any question? Naintindihan nyo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, let's continue. Stages of taxation. So, what are the stages of taxation? Number 1, levy or imposition. 2, assessment. 3, tax payment or collection. So, first stage is levy. Ibig sabihin dito, class, dapat merong imposition or merong batas. Naintindihan? Number 2, assessment. Computation ito. So, dapat i-compute kung magkano yung babayaran mong taxes. And then number 3, tax payment or collection. Next, principle of sound tax system. Number 1, fiscal adequacy. This principle states that the source of obligation of the government should be sufficient to meet the demand of the public expenditures regardless of business condition. Sa fiscal adequacy, ang sinasabi dito, class, is dapat yung gobyerno hindi magkaroon ng net loss. Naintindihan? Hindi po pwedeng mas mataas yung ginagasto ng gobyerno kaysa doon sa sinisingil niyang buwis from the people. That is fiscal adequacy. Halimbawa, sa business, hindi naman po pwedeng mas mataas yung expenses kaysa sa income. Kasi kapag ganon, lugi na. Naintindihan? So, ang tendency niyan, magsasara ang negosyo. Naintindihan nyo? So, that is fiscal adequacy. Number 2, equality or theoretical justice. This principle states that the tax burden must be proportionate to taxpayers' ability to pay. So dapat ganun kasi nga dapat ang babayaran ng isang tao na buwis is nakadepende dun sa kanyang ability to pay. Halimbawa, ang sweldo mo is 12,000 a month. Kapag 12,000 a month ang sweldo mo, dapat ang babayaran mong tax is only proportioned only to 12,000. Hindi po pwedeng 12,000 ang sweldo mo, ang binabayaran mong tax 2,000. Naintindihan? So, hindi po pwedeng ganon. Dapat, ang sabi ng batas or ang sabi ng taxation system natin, equality or theoretical justice, which is yung tax burden or yung babayaran mong tax is naka-proportion lamang doon sa ability or taxpayer's ability to pay. Let's say for example, empleyado ka, tapos ang income mo sa isang buong taon is only 500,000. Tapos ngayon, sabihin natin, si Ramon ang may-ari ng San Miguel Corporation. Siguro ang income niya sa isang taon, sabihin natin 100 million. So syempre, kapag 100 million yung income ng isang tao, malaki yung babayaran niyang tax. Pero kapag yung isang tao, ang income niya sa isang taon is only 500, konti yung babayaran niya. Naintindihan? So, dapat, sabi ng tax system, dapat ganon. Number 3, administrative feasibility. This principle states that law must be convenient, just, uniform, and effective in their administration, free from confusion and uncertainty. Ang sabi ng administrative feasibility class, dapat convenient, madaling magbayad or easy to compute, madaling i-compute yung pagbabayad ng tax. Uniform and effective in their administration, and then free from confusion and uncertainty. Next, doctrine of taxation, prospective application of tax laws. Ano ibig sabihin ng prospective? Anyone? Ang prospective is, ang synonym ng prospective is retrospective. Retroact rather. So, ang sabi daw sa tax system, ang tax law is prospective application. So, what is prospective? Anyone? Wala.
Nangyayari sa future date po, sir.
Okay. Okay, I'll set you an example. So, example. Halimbawa, sabihin natin, halimbawa, ito si Ma'am Marisa Pacularin, tama? Okay, halimbawa, si Ma'am Marisa, may nobyo siya, boyfriend niya. Nag-away sila. Ngayon, si Ma'am Marisa, hinahalongkat na lahat ng nakaraan, ng pagkakamali ng kanyang boyfriend. So, dapat prospective. So, sabi ng lalaki, huwag mo nang halongkatin yung mga nakaraan, dapat yung mga future na lang. So, ibig sabihin, prospective class is from the present to future. Halimbawa, kapag may lumabas na batas sa tax law, so hindi naman siya pwedeng i-apply backward. Dapat mag-apply yung batas forward. That is retrospective. Naintindihan? 'Di ba? Retrospective naman or retroact application naman, ang application ng batas, ang retroact naman is from the present backward. Naintindihan? So that is retroact and prospective. So ang sabi, ang tax law dapat prospective application. Halimbawa, 'di ba may issue ngayon about dun sa YouTube influencers. YouTube influencers. May balita kayo doon? Wala.